I also want to speak to that comment specifically about him having to reach deep into his pool. Milky, this man plays Rammus mid lane. This is not deep into the pool, man. You're in the kiddie pool right now. You're in like the waiting area where like children just starting to learn to swim. We haven't even approached the Marianas Trench of what the swamp has in Froggy's pool, right? He's pulled out Kane for us before, like.
It's one of those iceberg images, but it's just Froggy's champion.
It's Froggy's champion. Yeah. We're like the brim of the water with like the Zillion pick coming in here, but like I said, Kane, Rammus, like he's got champions for days. Shyvana, which by the way, tank Shyvana, incredible right now, has some very big legitimacy. I would love to see Froggy bring out some mid lane Shyvana, but I doubt that we're actually going to get anything like that. But still, it's on the record. It's on the record as being something that could be played.
It's very true. I actually have a lot of hope for Sky in this comp. It's very hard to predict them after game 1 and 2, after we saw those. But Yubi Zeri, it's very scary.
It's solid rhyming. It's a good way to actually play on a laning phase. The problem is Taki, however, because his Thresh is extremely good. I feel as though he's about to hookadoo if we actually get something. Although, okay.
I think it's going to be the Flay. Yep, the Thresh is looking fresh as Almine gets whipped.
This isn't even like a level 2 Aphelios to be able to use the Onslaught. This is just the level 1 auto attack exclusive auto attacking or abilities coming out from the side of Aphelios. So it actually gives me quite a bit of fear for what happens at level 2. Thankfully, it's a longsword double pot start from Amine, so he's going to be able to dump probably 2 pots into making sure that that's not going to come about. And the pot had been burnt by Shogun, who went for the Dorans instead. So Sustain's just not going to be able to match on both sides. But still, good play. It's understanding. Can we talk about Taki's Keystone right now? Because I'm only just now realizing that he is not rocking anything that we've seen before.
That's a Predator.
That's a Predator. How about can I scream LFG but like the actual words at the top of my lungs right now? Because Taki wants to get out and about on this map just as fast as possible and make an impact, and that is a Chad rune on Thresh if I've ever seen him before in my life.
I realize what you mean now, but as a long-time MMO player, I'm like, why do you want to yell looking for group?
Why do you need a group right now?
I'm confused. Why do you need to yell?
That's how you find people. You just scream it really loud, right?
Glory trying to deny Froggy the cannon, does not succeed though. Manages to get that one, but he definitely has to play very, very worried about this Yone.
It's a very strange dichotomy we actually have in a game like this, where it feels like Saigon has actually been winning pretty heavily in the earlier stages of most of these games, yet this game feels like the one that's going to be necessary for them to stand back and wait for a bit of time, because you don't want your Hecarim interacting with the Volibear all that often, because Volibear is so powerful in the early stage of the game, but that's what this entire early game is built around for the side of Saigon Buffalo. They have to wait for a moment where all of a sudden, Zillion and Hecarim can kind of find their opportunities. It feels like a slower game plan now from Saigon Buffalo where the punishment isn't there. And that's why I put a vote towards Sky, because now you're playing into later game, you're playing into a mid-game composition or a mid-game team. BJ's actually right into Ryuk.
That's just first blood. Easy peasy lemon squeeze. I think the Ignite might have been about to kill, but fair enough. Don't put it to chance. Easiest first blood ever.
It's also a question of whether or not it's more valuable on the Gwen or more valuable on the Hecarim, and I think ultimately it's more valuable on the Hecarim this early, and maybe that was the discussion, because they had a second or two there where they had the ability to wait, because BJ, they was in the Shroud, but the Ignite had actually given information on where Ryuk was, so it's like, do we give it on the Hecarim, do we put it on the Gwen, and I think they came to the conclusion that it would be better on BJ right there.
And look at this, SGB, they want the fight, but they might have to reconsider as Shogun is taken low, Shogun is taken down. It's a bit of supportal combat, but it's just a kitty cat against the Master of the Isles, but he gets blocked up by some minions, and Husmed's in trouble on the other side of the map. He'll go to the grave. Ryuk goes low, but does not go down, and Sky fire back.
And right there, actually a trade of kills in the top side for both junglers, which ends up being, I think, beneficial ultimately for, what is Sky, because Drakthar is going to be able to get off onto a pretty good foot. Right there, also, I hope we kind of get a replay of the bottom side play, because what it looked like was that Taki had actually been in a position to potentially kill out Aomine, but was saving some of the auto attacks to come through because he was trying to get the kill onto Shogun, and it wasn't until Shogun went down that the empowered auto came through and brought down Aomine, but we're not going to get to see that, unfortunately. Instead, we're going to see the play onto Hosmed, where Ryuk was able to take a fair amount of the trade potential here. Actually looked really close, but there was never really a threat onto Ryuk right there. Instead, they just handed over the kill to Drakthar.
They did. In the end, though, neither of the ADCs picked up a kill, so I guess it all kind of comes out in the wash. They end up pretty even. It is the Sheen for Almine already secured. Despite Riot's best efforts, rather, still no crit. What are you laughing at? What are you chuckling at?
Taki's got Mobies. He's not even building normal. He's an absolute chad this game. This is exactly what I want to see. This is a Thresh that it's going to be absolutely schmoove in this game.
Husband has got Ryuk very low. Almine's dead.
Okay.
He got Heckroomed.
He did get Heckroomed. You just got absolutely horsed. Tag 5 of your friends to horse them. Sorry, I had to throw that in because I've never gotten a chance to use that one. It's a great play coming out from Saigon because it also opens up the bottom side of the map. They're punishing the Zeri lane, and it's been activity coming out from BJ, which is kind of what we've been waiting for. They've been keeping him away from Volibear, which is humongous. Drakthar, I think, needs to do, or I guess all of Sky needs to do a better job tracking where BJ is going to be because they need to be able to put Drakthar in those positions. This is the play to the bottom side. You can see where is Drakthar. He's on his Krugs right now.
There's the Predator. Look at him go. In he goes. This is the move speed Rebel. They're just trying to do it as fast as they can.
Just wait till the Shirelias is online, and then all of a sudden everything's coming together.
B&J returning to the bottom side. Ults in, ease out, and that's going to be an easy kill. What a hook as well onto Elio. The cat will survive, but Zeri will not.
Yeah, unfortunately, the wave was coming in, and so the onslaught was going to have the exact effect that they wanted it to into Elio. Elio is staying here. I guess Drakthar is on the way to be able to catch the remainder of the wave, and they just want to be able to be here for some of the experience as well. Try to get the Yuumi in a correct position. Ryuk is still competing a bit with Hosbet on the top side, but yeah, this is now 2 ganks that have been massively successful into the bottom side for Saigon Buffalo, putting the Zeri in a pretty big hole to begin the game. Got to give props over to Taki, because again, the move speed to be able to set things up, and B&J actually finding the point on the map where there's a lot of breaking potential, now getting up to over 1,000 gold lead for Saigon Buffalo.
I mean, B&J coming into the top side, so I'll have to come back to my point. As Ryuk goes into the Shroud, does not have access to the ult, uses the Shuriken flip to buy some time, but with Taki coming in as well, he just gets a little assist. Husband will get the kill. Perfectly played there. I figured out their comp. As Drakthar could be in some trouble, gets flayed back. One day I'll get to be able to make this point. There's the Volibear ult. Taki gets consumed, and now B&J has to back off. Are they actually going to play this one out? Glory is here first. Froggy's miles away.
Yes. Husband does have the ultimate to be able to actually compete for something like this. Froggy, like you said, is miles away, but is going to be here in time, I think, for a fight. And Shogun's actually already in the mid lane. There's some
Shogun stacking up some chakram. Finally, I'm going to be able to make this point. I figured out SGB's team comp and why they didn't go for the Vex. After games 1 and 2, I think they were just jealous of how fast BTS was sprinting.
That's true.
And finally, I get that out. We have another bit of a scrap as SGB do disengage, but the Herald looks like it'll go over to Sky.
I had no idea where you were going, but that was 100% worth the wait. This is a really good one. So. Okay. We have a full 5-on-5 that's establishing here. Husband is only just now coming back, but does have the needlework to work with, so potential fight to come through. Ryuk is going to get clamped off by Husband, though.
Yeah, he meets him on the way, but Shogun is still in so much danger. He's got the Zillion ult. Yone goes in. He will go down into that Chrono Shift. Should be able to get back up, but I don't think it's going to matter because he's got Drakthar to deal with. And look at this. Thresh picks up 1 kill. Husband's got a lot of work to do, Rebel. Can he actually figure it out as Zeri will dash away? It's a 2-for-1 in favor of BTS.
And the big damage members here from the side of Saigon, specifically Shogun, is actually removed really easily from the fight. BJ's got a little bit to work with. Defense has got to come out just to make sure that BJ's not going to fall down. But the Rift Herald doesn't fall, which is the important bit of information. So much room is actually taken. I have to say, I think the thing that really solidified this for the side of Saigon was actually the ultimate coming out from Zillion, making sure that Shogun didn't go down immediately, because it bought time for them to respond on the backside of the fight to Ryuk being in the dive position. If immediately Shogun goes down and they get to kind of continue the re-engage from that point with that member being down for the side of Saigon, I think this looks a lot worse and they end up in a bad position. You can see how quickly Shogun kind of went down in the course of this fight, but he's still not dead to this point, so they can't ignore him. So instead, Ryuk gets jumped on by the rest of the team. Now you have the ability to work your way forward. Hosbed can't quite get enough done, just because, again, the needlework wasn't able to do enough damage to win out the fight outright, but it was enough to prevent Sky from just going directly to the Rift Herald and taking that one themselves. And that stalls that timer just a little bit longer, buys them another opportunity to potentially take it or trade for something when the time comes.
And I am genuinely disappointed and also mildly surprised that we don't see Taki just building an IE. Going full crit thrash.
Yeah, going for the Storm Razor and the one shot ARAM fresh build. Yeah, the OG classic, the one that everybody loves. You can appreciate it. Nah, it's just him wanting to zoom around the map and make an impact, man. Like, if you're playing into a Yuumi who's going to be kind of lassoed to a champion the majority of the game, Taki knows there's two options. You either have to bully her directly in the laning phase with a poppy pick, like I'm talking about, or something akin to it, or you just make sure that everywhere else on the map feels the effects, because Yuumi can't do that same kind of thing.
It's very true. Saigon Buffalo will now start up this Rift Herald. I don't think Sky wants to let it go without a fight. Ryuk has to be careful. Getting collapsed. Oh, Shogun with a huge whiff of that Moonlight Vigil. That's a massive tool they now don't have. Looks like it will be Drathar being able to pick up the Herald. Yumi's actually going to be the one to actually kill it. BJ has to run away, but he gets caught by the Yone ult. Chrono Shift was used. It doesn't actually get its value, so Sky just coming out ahead at the moment. Taki misses the hook. This could be huge, Rebel. It's just going to be the one, though.
Yeah, nothing crazy to kick off to begin with. It is just the kill going over. But again, this is the best that Sky has been able to actually perform in any of these games that have come out so far. Right there, the attempted re-engage on the backside. Again, if Taki hits a hook, maybe they can look for a little bit more engage. But that fight still looks precarious, even in the right situation. So it's Saigon that I feel like they're over-appropriating the amount of damage that they've got for fights like this so far. Because the Zillion isn't doing that much to begin with. BJ is strong, but he's not that strong. Hosbet's strong, but he's not that strong. And Shogun isn't anywhere near where he needs to be able to 1v5 a team fight like this. There comes a time, again, they have to be more patient than I think they have been in the first two games, and you've seen them poke a little bit more than they actually need to. And Sky's been able to punish that pretty effectively. Glory's been looking much better in a game like this. The setup for Aomine has been good, and Drakthar, I think, is doing exactly what he needs to on the Volley Bear to kind of take control of a game, or at least maintain some control in a game like this.
SGB will move down. They have full control over this dragon, so they should be able to secure their second stack here. Potential Soul Snowball is a possibility for them, as Husmed's gone on a bit of a journey here in the top side. Should be able to get out easily enough on the Gwen. Yeah, off he goes. But, as you said, we actually have a fairly even early game, and with how the mid games have been, that really favors Sky.
It does, very heavily, especially when you've got champions that do really well when they spike on first item. You talk about what Drakthar's capable of doing, you talk about what Glory's capable of doing. They've got the setup necessary to really be able to force their willpower when it comes to some of the mid fights, which is why, tracking 5 minutes down the line when first item and first and a half second items start to really pop online for anybody on the side of Sky, this is where we're paying attention to them contesting for the next dragon and whether Saigon actually wants that smoke or not. Rift Herald onto the bottom side, it's really early to only get the plates into making sure Zeri's going to get some of the gold, because it was almost when things had actually expired. There's hovering from Saigon Buffalo as well, and wanting to make sure no dive comes through. But again, you're really just pouring on the Rift Herald right before the timer expires so you can get that gold freely. Here comes BJ on the bottom side.
He's going in at Mark 3, but Almine is going to be able to cut it out. BJ, despite the speed, can't actually lock much down. Has to just get out. Taking a lot of damage from Almine, but fends it off. Sky completely parry that play.
Yeah, the mobility from Zeri alongside... Oh, actually, Husband versus Ryuk on the outside. Oh! How about that? Look at Ryuk.
Ryuk's back.
Yeah, feeling good about himself in this one, or at least feeling himself inside of this solo lane so far, has gotten the better of Hosman in a couple of individual traits. That play on the bottom side, again, the attempted play from BJ was thwarted by just the move speed of Amine, the cleanse coming through, as well as also having like the additional speed up from Elio, just making sure you can't have an angle to push them back into the rest of the team. And that compounded with Ryuk with the solo bolo on the top side. Really, it's looking good for Sky. I'm feeling great about my prediction now. I was a little worried that I was making the wrong call. This is what happened on the top side. What did happen for Hosman? Q tagged. I think the Ignite went down. He was just trying to run away from the fight. The Shroud makes it so difficult for Gwen to have that consistent fight up against the Akali in the laning phase. And I'm guessing that was what the effect really was felt from the side of Hosmed.
Yeah, for sure, but that is a huge confidence booster you have to imagine for Ryuk. He's been getting absolutely clowned on this season, this series rather, as Drakthar comes in, smites away his own Gromp. So he does defend that one, but it should be a tower taken for SGB. But yeah, as I was saying, Ryuk, hopefully that resets his mental a bit. We get some good Akali.
I'm hoping that's the case as well, because the Akali actually looked very threatening inside of the very limited team fight exposures that we've had for Ryuk in a game like this, and especially when the composition is relatively one note when it comes to consistent carries. Obviously, Hosmed's going to have quite a bit of damage. BJ and Froggy will be able to patch together some stuff, but mostly it's Shogun. But Shogun has actually been pressured quite nicely by Akali inside of the fights that we've seen so far from Ryuk. And I'm expecting that to be a continuing trend, which is rather nice, because that's kind of like the one thing that you desperately need. Hosmed might have felt insulted by the last solo kill. He just immediately gets aggressive into Ryuk. He still has a level advantage and a blue buff. He's up 40 CS, so while the kill did go over, Ryuk is still not in a perfect position in the laning phase.
He's not, and I feel like there's a little bit of BM that Hosmed's built steel caps. I mean, I get it, but you've got to be sitting there as Ryuk just going, is that how it's going to be? Really? You just build an armor against an Akali.
I suppose when it comes to CC, like, you've got some stun from, like, the Volibear. The ultimate from, like, the Yone can also be reduced a little bit, and as well as, like, the ultimate coming out from, like, the Yumi. They got a lot of magic damage, though. Like, Zeri does quite a bit. Oh, actually, I'm going to save that for after this.
Ryuk is in the Shroud, not revealed quite yet, and with the perfect execution, gets out. BJ wants to have another crack, but needs to be careful. Good ultimate to get some distance away, and Hosmed will clean up the kill.
Very nicely played on the bottom side, just making sure Hosmed's going to feel good in the laning phase once again. Nothing else happening. The biggest problem in a game like this, however, for Saigon is that nobody's really been responding to Glory at all. Glory is at over 10 CS a minute right now, and really that's not matched at all by Froggy, who's on a supportive champion, which is perfectly fine. But there is a Yone, which is a massive power spike.
Oh, Elio with a massive final chapter, but not quite massive enough. But it's traded 1-for-1, and on the top side, as you were pointing out, Glory has been allowed to run free and pick up a tower.
Teleport into bottom side as well from Ryuk is just going to deny any additional pushing from Hosmed. And now you have to think, are they trying to set up for Rift Herald? Because Drakthar is still here. They still have Elio on the map. And again, Yone is extremely powerful. Has the shield bow already finished? They're looking for a bit of play. Shogun's stuck here. Teleport's going to cover for it. So nothing to come about from the mid lane. Instead, both teams still posturing around what will be the Rift Herald. If they both want to compete for it, they have 2 minutes to decide whether or not they're going to be able to full commit and take a full fight and find something more. Saigon is actually going for Dragon, which makes a lot of sense. That Sky, they're now given the offer whether or not they want to go for Rift Herald for free in exchange for the third Dragon of the game, or whether they want to compete for third Dragon. And I think Sky is actually opting for against the guaranteed goal of the guaranteed tower push in an attempt to use the power they've got right now to fight up against Saigon Buffalo, which is the right call in a lot of circumstances if Ryuk doesn't go down on the backside.
Oh, a lovely Everfrost there to lock down Ryuk. They will get the kill, but it's traded nicely onto the Dragon itself. BJ can't get close enough to try and steal that one away. Yone flying on in. Glory's doing well, but look at Hecarim charging into the backline. Drakthar is Hosmed's target. Shogun, no Moonlight Vigil. Can't get that big lockdown. I think a 1-for-1 is where it's going to end.
It will as well. See a little bit of action still between the two teams. Glory gets really far with the E to be able to actually find an impact, but ends up getting away, all things considered. And I think Sky got away with a little bit more there than I would have expected them to, all things considered, because they really wanted the fight to come through. Saigon was actually looking incredibly comfortable after Ryuk went down, but the pick that Glory was able to kind of generate against this team to ensure that nothing else would come through buys them both the Dragon and the team fight win. BJ's wrapping around on the Rift Herald right now. The rest of the team is a little far away. She's kind of on his lonesome for the moment.
He doesn't get in. He is safe if he doesn't want this fight. But what am I saying? It's SGB. Of course they want the fight, but it's going so badly. Taki's had to get the Zillion ult used on him. BJ goes down, and the rest of them just have to get out of there. Shogun, don't step up, mate. You've done the wrong thing. As Almine dashes over the wall, immediately has to flash back. Sky, I think, are too low to actually punish SGB's overextension.
It's really astonishing because if you look at the health bars of Sky, so many of them got ridiculously low in a fight like this. Shogun is getting close to where, like, 2/3 items, maybe he can actually full carry a fight like this. But Saigon is poking way too far in for fights. Like, I feel like this is not the composition you want to be taking into Sky's composition when it comes to contesting them in the mid game. Yet they are the ones constantly initiating over and over again. BJ now has run into this team twice in a row. The fight around the dragon was okay, but it turned out kind of poorly because Glory had a great ultimate that split the fight. Right there, they didn't have everybody all together. They weren't able to kind of put the pieces together at the right time. BJ just looking for a steal on the Rift Herald. They were able to collapse on that. So they continue here. Yeah, just walk out. Especially with no needlework. If they have needlework, maybe Hosped can actually pinch off like Ryuk, Amine, and Glory from this fight, and all of a sudden it's just Drakthar in the back of the pit, and maybe you trade 1-for-1 again. But this situation was just kind of disastrous because they didn't even have that ultimate readily available. But again, look at the health bars. Like, it doesn't look horrible for how bad it probably should be for the side of Saigon Buffalo to keep taking fights like that. But here they are. They're down 2,000 gold. It's been a good play from the set of Sky. They also denied the third dragon, so another really big tool in their back pocket to keep this game going effectively in their favor for the moment.
BJ, having a lurk. Hasn't been spotted. Is he just going to get a cheeky smite? Yep. Just a pain.
I mean, he didn't realize it until the last possible second. Okay, he poked his head out, but BJ still hadn't been spotted up until that point, which is crazy to me. He's going to get slowed down, but they're not going to catch him. I was like, okay, they have to know that's down, right? But he turned the corner, and Amine must have thought that the red buff was just over the wall, and BJ's ultimate is down.
Hecarim's ult is down. I kind of think Sky are fairly happy with that, particularly when Baron's on the map, and they're really happy with Ryuk just getting up a solo kill. Taki's going to go down as well. What the hell are you doing, SGB?
That is a great question, because there are a number of reasons why none of that should be happening, and now a flex from Drakthar, he's going to find Shogun. He's just dead. Yeah.
Okay. Where was this first two games, Sky? I mean, actually, no. It's not even fair. I think Sky is playing the same level of mid-game they did in Game 1 and 2. SGB are just... did they think the series was over after 2?
That's a great question, whether or not they actually thought that was actually going to be the case, because it seems the Saigon has just fallen completely off a cliff here. I didn't love their composition walking into a game like this. I really liked what Sky actually had going for themselves, and there's such a fine line that Saigon had to dance with how much scaling they needed versus how much they needed a team fight to compete in a game like this. And I thought taking early dragons was really going to be the massive boon. Hosmed was the one that initiated this, too. This is crazy. Look at him. He's got ripped to pieces. Okay. And then Taki came running in to try to assist. He has Lantern to pull in Shogun, but again, it's Amine and Glory that both kind of clamp off the ability for Shogun and Froggy to walk in. And I think that was the fullest intention. And all this is happening while, like, Drakthar is coming in with Elio attached to him. The Rift Herald was dropped in mid lane. Like, there's so much stuff happening on the map. I wonder how much of that was also off the back of BJ going in for that red buff steal, because Hecarim got pushed out completely from that fight. No ultimate as well, which meant that they could enforce their willpower across all of Saigon, but basically no punishment.
And I mean, I always hesitate to read into mental things, because obviously we don't know. But it honestly feels to me like SGB after game 2 just went, whatever. We're beating a dead horse at this point. Let's have some fun. Let's just play a comp where we run really fast. You can't do that. Sky are a good enough team to punish you if you screw around.
They are, especially with a composition like this, because they look good across the board. You've given them one of the best ADCs. You've given them one of the best junglers, especially for Drakthar in terms of power. And you combine that with the mid game that they've been having. It's kind of tough to actually see what it is that Saigon was looking to do in a draft, other than just kind of meme around at least a little bit. Husband and Ryuk back at it again. Okay. So he stalls us for a little longer. It doesn't matter though.
You can't do this.
I don't know. It's very strange.
This is a shocker.
What is BJ doing up here?
Oh, BJ nearly gets the kill back. But look at this. It's just Sky walking on in. Whew.
What? I'm so lost. I can't even describe what is happening right now, because why is BJ in that top side in the first place? I understand why Hosman's there, right? Hosman's there because he's punishing a tower on the other side, pulling a little bit of gold back. That's perfectly fine. Why is BJ there? What purpose do you serve other than cleaning up the kill afterwards if things happen to go awry? And for the exchange, you lose 2 inhibitors. I know the Baron buff isn't quite down, and so those inhibitors, it's going to take a while for them to actually find like an impact to try to get to the Baron buff, but still, it's kind of insane having BJ all the way up on the top side of the map when the rest of your base is getting taken, when they could have probably mounted a defense with 4 members, probably away from Glory in the mid lane, but they would have been able to do so. But without them, the Baron buff was enough to push down in both mid and bottom lane. As Sky, they're waltzing towards an endgame that's looking very good for themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, this is with Glory having... He's been good in the fights that he's attended, but honestly, he's just been doing side lane things. He's got 270 CS in 25 minutes. He's been having a great PvE session. As there's a triangle formed around him, but I don't even know if they can catch him if they do collapse. He's still Yone.
Yeah, they have no idea where Saigon is. That's the blue buff finding Taki. There we go.
Drakthar! Drakthar found him, I think, and he's going to bear on down. Taki has to flash away. He'll be contributing nothing more to this fight as Drakthar has to go gold. Almine has popped the electricity, and he's shocking them all down. It is going to be Gwen picking up the only kill so far, though, so the catch works for SGB.
Somehow and in some way, they're able to enforce their willpower around this top side. The engagement comes through. Saigon is not incredibly weak in a game like this either, so it is Sky that also still has to play respectfully, although it is them getting caught out on the top side as the defense attempts to mount for the side of Saigon. They should be able to take that inner tower. They're catching the waves that are now crashing into the interior of their base. There is a legitimate fear that the double inhibitor take is actually to push so many minions into Saigon that they can recover from this game, given that they've got 2 dragons in their back pocket. They've got more than enough time to wait for the soul point. The Baron buff, especially the next Baron buff, I think is really the big breaking point that could push this game over the limit for Sky. It's just a question of how Saigon play up until that point to be able to compete against that Baron buff. But you can see, obviously, like, there are bright spots, right? I still think that Shogun is in a position where, in the right place, he can carry a game like this. On 3 items, all of a sudden, Volibear gets a lot squishier, makes it a lot harder to kind of just, like, jump into the backline, even if Elio is attached, to make any sort of punishment happen back there.
And look, your analysis is spot on, but I've got another theory. I think there was the extended break. I think BTS have asked for the extra 10 minutes. Because I think the sun's gone down in Vietnam, and the plant man that is BJ is called back into his pot. He's not got the sun. It is photosynthesize. Get a UV lamp.
They unfortunate. He's looking pretty green in this game, surprisingly, for a plant that is without chlorophyll. So there's that to talk about as well. But you're not wrong. I think BJ actually had an okay start to this game, but yeah, he's been a little bit goony as this game has actually gone along. So there's that to talk about. I still think this is a mistake. While Glory side laning has been great all game, I still cannot imagine a world in which having a Yone farm this much on the side lane is going to be anything but detrimental to your team. Nice TP in. There's going to be a fight on both sides, actually.
Yeah, and I think this is where they get punished by that Yone not being there. As he had to use the teleport. Drakthar is already dead. BJ, he's just going for a run.
He's still got ultimate. Oh, okay.
The hook doesn't land. I think Sky will be able to evacuate. It's 1 kill.
It's
but with no object. It is, but I don't think they can do the Baron. I don't know if you can go into the pit against this comp.
I think it's difficult. I agree 100%. Question is, can they actually, like, they're going to try it anyway, which is completely fair. They're going to try to force a team fight coming out from Sky because they've got the smite. They're the ones that are going to make them make
moves. Glory! The perfect ultimate, and he kills Froggy before the chrono shift can even be used. Glory and Husband having a brawl, but look how found he is. It just doesn't matter. And Ryuk will do the rest. And Sky wipe the Buffalo out.
So, as much as Glory's lack of presence on the top side of the map actually was allowed Saigon Buffalo to find a pickoff, to start their way back into the game by attempting for the Baron buff, it is in fact Glory's side laning and his incredible power inside of this game that completely turns that fight. You were right all along. I expected Saigon would know a fight would be coming and that they would have to just avoid Glory's ultimate in order to win things out, but they can't. Glory gets onto an important member and then immediately opens up the backline because you have to have your damage somewhere in this fight, and that lets Ryuk go onto Shogun in the backline, and you have nothing on the backside as Sky